Well, thank you, Rowena, and welcome everyone to our symposium. So if I could have my first slide. If you go to the World Health Organization's website, and then you search for influenza pandemic, you very quickly come across this statement. In this interconnected world, the question is not if we will have another pandemic, but when. Not if, but when. And so there's the title of our symposium, The Next Influenza Pandemic. So how worried should we be about an influenza pandemic? Well, if we go to the next slide, there we go. If we go to the next slide, this is a slide that I like to use in my teaching at Princeton. And what we're looking at here is the mortality rate per 100,000 people plotted against the entire 1900s, from 1900 to 1999. And at the top, you see deaths from all causes. And then in the middle, the blue line is deaths from non-infectious disease causes, non-infectious causes, okay? And so you can see those death rates didn't change at all through the 100 years. But the bottom, the red, is deaths due to infectious disease. And you can see that in the first half of the 20th century, we made incredible progress in reducing deaths to infectious disease. First, thanks to public health measures, then thanks to vaccines, and then thanks to antibiotics. So incredible progress. But one thing you'll notice here, if you look just before 1920, there's this incredible brief blip, okay, where the death rate almost doubles, okay? And that's the 1918-1919 influenza pandemic, okay? Estimated to have killed something more than 50 million people worldwide. So we see that blip, but there's no other blips here. So is there only maybe one pandemic every 100 years? Well, that's not the case. And if we look here, this is another World Health Organization table. We can see the 4 pandemics that have occurred in the last 100 years. And so we've already talked about the 1918-1919 Spanish flu. It's called the Spanish flu. And if you look just to the right, you see that it's an influenza A virus, so it's the influenza A viruses that cause pandemics. And then you see it's a specific subtype. It's called H1N1. And so the A viruses are subgrouped into subtypes based on the identity of 2 of the proteins in the virus particle, the hemagglutinin H and the neuraminidase N. And so that's an H1N1 virus. And if you look all the way to the right, you'll see, as I already told you, it killed more than 50 million people worldwide. And then we have the 57-58 Asian flu, the 68-69 Hong Kong flu, and the most recent one that we all remember, the 2009 influenza A. And you see that the 57-58 and the 68-69 have different H and N designations, and then the most recent one is back to H1N1. And so why didn't any other blip show up? Well, it's obvious. The 1918-1919 flu killed many more people worldwide than the others. I mean, the others are nothing to ignore, right? Those are huge numbers of people that died in response to these other flus, but nothing like 1918-1919. What made that virus so special? Well, that's a very complex question, and you're going to hear a lot about that today. But one thing to note here is that if you look at the estimated basic reproductive number there, it doesn't vary terribly much from pandemic virus to pandemic virus. And that's a measure of how well the virus spreads amongst humans. But if you look at the estimated case fatality, you can see a 100-fold difference going from the 1918-1919 virus to the most recent one. Okay, so does this mean then that we only need to worry about flu every 25 years? Okay. Well, that brings me to my last slide, and this is from the influenza division of the CDC, and what they're focused on are seasonal flu instances. During the last 8 years, so 2010 to 2011 through 2017 to 2018, and you can see seasonal flu has resulted in different years from 9 million to 49 million cases just in the United States, okay? And then you go up the pyramid, hospitalizations, 140,000 to 960,000, depending on the flu that year. And then at the very top are deaths, 12,000 to 79,000 deaths from seasonal flu just in the United States each year. So flu is a big problem. It's great to see everybody raising their hands that you've gotten your flu shot. I certainly couldn't face a flu season without one, so I think it's a great thing to do. So that's what I wanted to share with you by way of introduction to reinforce what I believe, and that is flu is a big deal and something that we have to learn more and more about. And today people are going to tell you both what we've learned and also what we need to do next. Okay.